So here's a question for all you One Piece fans out there. At this point, should Saint Garcia Saturn be put on fraud watch? Over the past few chapters, Saturn has been punched by a dad, kicked by a cook, had a hole shot through him by a cyborg, got pummeled by a literal god, and probably worst of all, he was touched by someone he considers beneath him. When Saturn first showed up in this arc, it was such a big deal for all of us readers because he was coming hot off the reveal from the Reverie. And we were all excited to see firsthand the powers a member of the Gorosei had after we saw them use them on Sabo. And then he appeared through a magic circle on the island as a spider yokai of all things, and he just had this menacing aura about him that made me think he was going to be the main antagonist of the arc. But ever since the Kuma flashback ended, he's honestly failed to live up to all that hype, because with each passing chapter, he's either standing there doing absolutely nothing, yelling orders at Kizaru and the other Marines, while he lets our heroes make plans and escape over and over again, or he's getting embarrassed by Vegapunk showing how he secretly betrayed him, or simply just getting hands put on him. You know, both with punching and in Katarina's case, literally putting her hand right on him, something that with him being one of the highest authorities in the world should be an instant death sentence, and yet her and Van Ogre just casually stroll off without any issue. Okay, technically they teleported away as Saturn went to attack them, but still, it was way too easy for them to do that, especially when Saturn has the power that literally locks people in place just by being in his presence, a power that worked on Sanji, one of the top 4 members of the Straw Hats. I'm not going to get into the whole power scale and debate of where Jinbei and Sanji go in that ranking, at least not in this video. But regardless of that debate, I think it's safe to say that neither of these 2 members of Blackbeard's crew are nearly as powerful as Sanji. So if Sanji couldn't break out of I don't wait, what do you call Saturn's powers that he's been using? Okay, so I just looked it up, and apparently Saturn's powers haven't been named, at least not the ones he's been using in this arc, but the wiki says that they're similar to telekinesis, so I guess we'll just go with that for now. If Sanji couldn't break free from Saturn's telekinesis, then I highly doubt these 2 could, so why not use it? It's not like he can't move when he's using the power, so if he really wanted to kill them, why not freeze them in place so that they're easy targets? Now, obviously, it is up in the air if Van Ogre's power could still work while frozen or not, so maybe he still could have been able to teleport the 2 of them away before Saturn could do the deed. But dude, Saturn man, I at least need you to try. And actually, now that I think about it, we haven't seen Saturn use that move since Kuma punched him. It's almost like that hit knocked the memory of how to do it straight out of his skull. Now, all that being said, I will say Saturn in this chapter did somewhat bring back that fear I had of him when he first popped out of that magic circle. This more monstrous appearance and movement he has when he rushes back towards Luffy, Sanji, and Vegapunk is honestly threatening, and if he was just facing Sanji or any of the other good guys, I would be genuinely worried for them. But Luffy being in Gear 5 and not even paying him any attention as he creeps closer to them kinda takes the intensity out of the moment. And that's honestly something I've seen a lot of One Piece fans discuss online during this arc, mostly over the last few chapters, that Gear 5 takes the seriousness out of any situation, and that it might be changing Luffy for the worse, especially when we look at how much of a joke he made of it when he reacted to how hurt Vegapunk was in the last chapter. And you know what, to a certain degree I do agree with him on that. I mean, just look at how we have the image of Luffy just dancing around Saturn's attacks in this chapter. It's very goofy, very fun, and it's completely overshadowing the small, more serious image of Sanji running for his life while holding a dying Vegapunk. I just think back to the Luffy we got during the rooftop fight in Wano, when he saw the scabbards all laid out after their fight with Kaido, and how serious and somber he was as he declared he'd fight in their place. I think that's the Luffy that everyone wants to see right now. Which again, yes, I do agree, it would be nice to see that version of Luffy right here in this moment, but one thing we all need to remember is that almost immediately after that fight started, Luffy was back to doing goofy things, like playing a game of chicken with Kid and Law. Even in serious life or death situations, this more fun side of Luffy has always been there. It's just that in the past, we would get a moment or two of seriousness from him before going back to the goofiness, versus post Gear 5, where it's just basically all goofy. But after Kizaru lands a pretty serious hit on Vegapunk, stabbing him with his Amano Morikumo, taking the most serious attempt at Vegapunk's life we've seen him take yet, we get to see a glimpse of that serious Luffy again when he grabs both Kizaru and Saturn, squeezing Kizaru so hard that he spits up blood. Sure, Luffy's still smiling from ear to ear in the next shot of him, but you can tell from that first one that he's not playing around anymore. So yeah, it seems like we'll still be getting the more serious Luffy even winning Gear 5, it's just not going to be displayed the same way we're used to, which in my opinion is totally fine, because something about the fact that Luffy can still smile the way he is when he's this pissed off, it's just simply terrifying. But now that we're done talking about Luffy, Kizaru, and Saturn, we unfortunately had to bring up Sanji's performance in this chapter, because even I was riding high off his display in the previous one, and I came into this chapter expecting a follow-up to that epicness, but instead, like always, after Sanji takes one step forward, he's forced to take 2 steps back. And look, I don't blame Sanji for running away in this chapter even after he was kicked by Kizaru. He was given a direct order by his captain and he followed it. That's exactly what he should do. But it just seems like we keep setting Sanji up for these cool moments, only for him to fall on his face in the next chapter. And I feel like in this particular scene, it really wasn't necessary. Like, the only reason I could see why Oda put this scene in was for Luffy to see Vegapunk get hurt firsthand, so that Luffy had a reason to get angry. But Vegapunk was already mortally wounded, so I feel like that should have been enough. And if it wasn't, why sacrifice Sanji's moment to finally shine in this arc just to set that up? It's honestly one of the more frustrating things about this arc, and I'm not even that big of a Sanji fan. But I can only hope that after all of this, Sanji walks away learning something that he needs to improve on for the next time he has to face an admiral. Moving on to much happier topics, I really enjoyed the interaction Bonnie, Frankie, and Alice had with Dory and Bragi. It was very cute, and once again, I got heavy sibling vibes from Bonnie when she was asking the Giants to go and help out Luffy. Also, it was funny that the Giants didn't recognize Frankie as a member of the crew, and it reminded me that his current bounty poster is just a picture of the Sunny. Also, that whole build-up with Vice Admiral Tosa hunting them down, only to be slammed into the ground by Bragi, was hilarious. Probably my favorite moment of the entire chapter. And even though we have Vice Admirals Bluegrass and Dahl heading towards them, now that they're with the Giants, we can pretty much write them off as being safe. With the exception of maybe Kuma, he's most likely going to be the only casualty from their group if anyone does actually end up being left behind. And speaking of Dahl, we find out that Saul used to be her commanding officer 20 years ago, which him being brought up here just as we're gearing up to visit Elbaf means that he's going to be popping up and have some story relevance very soon. It could be that we might end up finding out once we get to Elbaf that he actually is the man marked by flames, which ever since that name was first brought up by Kid at the end of Wano, this is what many fans have been speculating on. But me personally, I'm still up on the air of whether or not I believe that Saul is the guy or if he's going to be someone else. That being said though, Saul is almost guaranteed to be someone that the Straw Hats will meet when they're on the island. And I'm pretty sure that we're all looking forward to seeing him and Robin finally reunite. And then finally, we have the beginning of the chapter, funnily enough, that we're talking about at the end of the video, which picks up from the ending of the last chapter where Caribou approached Katarina Devon and Van Augur about meeting Teach. Which obviously the two are suspicious about him since he's appearing here literally out of nowhere, and are kind of just ready to put him down and go on about their business. Now, normally I would think that this interaction would all be leading to Caribou finally meeting Blackbeard and telling him everything he's learned on his journey with the Straw Hats, and that is most likely where it is going. But since Caribou didn't just outright tell them that he has info on the ancient weapons that Blackbeard will want to know, like he literally knows exactly where two of the ancient weapons are, that has me suspecting that maybe they might end up turning him down and possibly trying to kill him. But I don't know, we'll have to wait for the next chapter to find out what they're going to do with him. But let me know in the comments down below, do you think that Caribou will get to meet his idol? Or will he be shot down quite literally and have to continue on with the Straw Hats going forward? Thank you all for watching the video, I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you all back here to discuss another exciting chapter of One Piece.